pardon my slang. I don't know if they're gonna get this New York jive talking. So, not for the teaching artist, but for the artist who can teach. Deep down, there is an old man by the river, blue denim in his flow. If Martha's Vineyard had a stepchild, I would be there with the rusty picket fence glow. Desert sand to a black beach bringer, ghetto Shakespearean clown. Little shop of horror fanatic, daydreaming of beautiful girls from Skid Row with black guys singing downtown. New Eurekan exile, frozen Japan kicks, Jordan stacked next to a collection of homies locked up posing for Polaroid flicks. Suffering from visions of grandeur, sucking the success out of pain, staring at dirty napkins, seeing the art in the coffee stain, cradle to the grave, distant coolness, red wine, MO, 730 rudeness, Southside outlaw, flying cut sleeves, 80 blocks from Tiffany's on heavy rotated, YouTube bleeds blood, flooded with anti-social justice, sniffing gunpowder out of the barrel of a propaganda musket, immediate descendant of the cool, Vietnam draft, Boricua mixed with Lower East Side heroin, resulted in the aftermath. I'm from the house that Step It Fetch It burnt down, lyricist lounge, poet laureate of the old hip-hop underground, son of drama, child of the bard, an English soldier at Agincourt, either die or go hard, kill or be martyred. I am big pentameter on the regular, so the gift goes farther. An Aristotle thug, dealing with the real. Plato is the enemy of the soul, like a Def Jam deal. Watch me. In my 1983 Bop G, New York City's Sunnyvale Q's Unit Square in the Roxy's. Watch how these American Idol Simons try to stop me. Hate me when I walk through the door. Love me when I blow up the spot. Please, when they first see me, they never take me serious. Till they find out my talent don't come from the color of my skin, but from my wholehearted experience. So watch me. Me and my story, how I lived it. If you were my mother every morning, I'll be walking you to the methadone clinic. My older brothers in Iraq, killing corner store Arabs. America, I don't forgive it. So watch me deal with the ridicule and shame, the worst heartache and pain. And how I maintained was by turning myself into the king of the poetry spit fame. Watch me turn my pennies into dimes, my darkness into shine, many of my mistakes into nailing it forever one time. Watch me make love to hard work ethics, cause game without ambition is game never respected. These are not words, these are my blood, sweat, and tears. From the real side of Franklin County to them Sunset Park piers, and my homies in the prison yard still finishing their years. Cause I'm an ex-con, but an ex-con has always been a friend to me. Don't discriminate, cause it was written that even Jesus had a felony. So watch me be the artist who was born ready-made. Watch me take my lemons and make the best goddamn lemonade. I kind of want to add on, I'm a part of this community. I'm a proud teacher. I'm a working artist, but I love my relationship with my young people, with my peers, with my contemporaries, and how we all grow together as artists, and how we open ourselves up to that, and believe that we all have a space to share everything we learn as we move on. I work in production, and I love taking everything and stealing it and giving it to my friends, because they deserve it for the work they do in the classroom. And the outlines, I was sharing that. So I'm excited about being here. I'm excited about being back in Carnegie Hall. So I want to share, I want you to listen to some of the things that I've learned, because this is not Lemon's talent, but Lemon's learning process as an artist. And all of the people who've taught me to understand execution, the Etheridge Knights in my life, the Reggie Gaines in my life, the Wynn Handmans, the Carnegie Halls, the collaborators here who I've worked hard with. So I want you to hear them as I do these poems, because they're all here, okay? Would you look at that? There's so many people out there. After all the hard work, I'm finally here. the Tony Awards. Man, when they say this is the great white way, they sure aren't playing. Either they put some extra lighting out there, or there's a whole lot of white people in that audience. Our cue's in 5 minutes, and I'm finna crack this stage in half. I just wish I could go up there now, because this anxiety is tearing at my nerves. I just hate waiting. Some artists suffer from stage fright. I suffer from not being on stage enough. They're rounding us all up stage left. Steve Coleman plays the hype man and yells, "Deaf poets, what time is it?" We all holler back, "It's time to get live. It's time to represent." They announced the award for our category in special theatrical event. And I'm thinking, oh shit, here we go with the word special again. Oh, you're so special. In a special case like yours, today we have a special on special needs. Isn't that special? They're passing the award around, and it finally comes to me. I stare at the chromed out Antoinette Perry coin with glory and think to myself, damn, this is real. I won. I wish I could say a couple of words, but I look over into the orchestra pit, and I can see an old violinist with a permanent hickey on his neck, getting ready to play right after Russell speaks. Well, whatever. I made it, and now I'm ready to shut down Times Square, where they're live broadcasting another moment for us spit kings to rock the Tonys. We get to the location. Metal cranes are swinging oversized video cameras around a stage set in front of the George M. Cohan statue. I jump up on stage, and the cast all smile at me. Being the only performer born and raised in this city, and in all the prayers we had backstage, this is the one thing I'd always asked for. Tonight, the police barricades are all over Times Square. Traffic is stopped just so I can tell my story in TV timing. I'm in the heart of it all. Behind this city, there is a history of struggle, a beautiful struggle. These are my streets, my stories. How did I end up here, staring down the fly-famed fashion district of 7th Avenue, looking left to the school trips I took to Rockefeller Center. On my right, the famous arcade I played hooky at now sells eggnog lattes during the winter. I'm 2 miles away from the old unique boutique where my village people shopped, stomped, and housed their ways through Washington Square's cold benches. I can still smell the glazed yips, rib tips, messengering big checks from Goldman Sachs to the pre-9/11 postcard bomb of One World Trade, daydreaming of a Battery Park lifestyle. Instead, I had to put up with the punkness of a Park Slope sucker-famed repertoire. Red Hook school zone bullying. Even now, the bell tolls from the Yusuf Hawkins aluminum Louisville slugger, banging against a black Bensonhurst pair of balls till the sound drops out. My only year in high school, watching the crackle of Abraham Lincoln High splitting a rail down Abe Lincoln, my only thought, and that's where it left. Can you hear it? Can you see it? The sun-drenched sight, sound, and flashing lights, can you hear it? This is where I got it. This is where it all started. Coney Island beaches, Himalaya. Millie, because it's so hot out today, can we go to the aquarium? Quicker than I could plead, she lets me have it. Ghetto Puerto Rican style. What, ¿qué tú crees? ¿De no mirar a money? Yo no sé qué problema, tú sí que jode. That's why me impide porque tú y yo juntos, pero la super condenado loca, yo fui a face to face. You know what they pay me? A los pelos de los panty míos y $100 in food stamps, and they don't take that at the aquarium. If you don't like it, quédate con tu pai because he's a good for nothing blanco desgraciado, concho. Believe it or not, she's actually in a good mood. My mother, Millie, is 5 feet full of tough tenderness, a rare, proudless Puerto Rican by way of a Campo Cocaye, rigorous, rebellious, reckless one born second out of 7 children, chosen to sip the chilled chalice of the 1970s tough love supreme. But behind her bold boiling points, she loves me, so unconditional. So I say, okay, Millie, then can we go to the Himalaya ride to dance? I knew she would say yes. That's the only thing my mother liked about Coney Island, was the Himalaya, because the beach is a mess hole of drunk lifeguards getting robbed under the boardwalk. The sand is like walking on hot coal, plus you had broken glass everywhere. So finally, when she couldn't get no more bronze, Millie gets up off a floral house blanket, folds it into a red pleather oversized purse, and we're off to the Himalaya. I love this ride so much, it would spin around in circles really fast in these up and down waves, then slow down and go backwards on request. The theme around the ride, all these painted mountains of snow with men skiing down the slopes. But it isn't the ride that people loved about the Himalaya. It was the music. There was always a party outside. And the DJ will play all the latest in classic disco joints. So when me and Millie finally get to the Himalaya, it is packed with people from all over the city. We work our way into the flashy crowd, trying our best to stay on everybody's one, when all of a sudden the DJ plays my mother's favorite record, Ring My Bell. She grabs me by the hand, catches a beat, and we start doing our hustle. I look up and I see Millie staring at me with those baby brown pearls swaying a silk scarf tightly wrapped around her dark and lovely dyed curls with layaway jewelry on her prison tattooed arms that she got from the Brenna lady. Tempting to lose grip towards the hook, that's when Millie lets go and lets her 10-year-old man-child have the solo of his life. This moment of mine, medium rare, so I don't let her down. Every shimmy, every shake, every slide, every glide slides in sync. The crowd tightens their cipher. Black folks look at me crooked-eyed, giving my two-step this get-out-of-town look. It's like no one and nothing else exists but their soul clap and the stained-glassed river Nile of tears, salty stinging my mother's smile. I could hear her pitch perfect in the background yelling, "That's my boy." Thank you. So, you know, that was like a little bit of John Leguizamo meets, you know, Roger Guinevere Smith. We meets, you know, Eric Bogosian. I was highly influenced by them. I teach these monologue artists to young people. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of adding poetry to monologues. I think there's something beautiful about that. And it's exciting work. The work, you know, like bringing monologues to a classroom is great because it allows me the opportunity to work with young people and to kind of teach them how to speak through characters instead of speaking for themselves. I think fiction is important to teach in a nonfiction classroom. I think it's brave for them to speak for themselves, but it's also really creative for them to speak for themselves through characters, right? I think it's really great to teach young people how it is to like write characters in life, because sometimes we're so vulnerable and we're so scarred and flawed with like trauma in our life that it's better for someone else to judge the character instead of judging us, right? And so that's really important work, right? So it worked for me and I'll show you examples of that. Sometimes it's better for someone else to tell your story even though you're the storyteller. So I'm a poet, so I'm gonna read poems. There's an art to reading, right? Off the page, right? I love it. All my great writers read off the book. So this is a book called Straight Razor. I'm sure you can't find it, but it's fine. Cool. Let's see. Cool. Real short, so I'm just gonna go through these. You think you are beautiful till you get to Hollywood and you find out everyone's beautiful. You think you are talented till you get to New York and find out everyone is talented. You finally look in the mirror and find out everyone is not you. Bank on that. I love everything about the world of poets, the flaws of new poets trying to find their flow, the unlicensed critics smashing the pop culture poets, the nerd bad two-step poets breaking character in their focus, priceless, the internationally known, locally rejected poets who teach us about the world in 4D when books put too much hurt in the eyes, the liberals still holding on to Mumia. It's called frontline loyalty. Take notes. The young poets with their one-sided Bay Area style that only they understand, but they're a million deep, so get over it. The poets using spoken word to land a record deal. Somebody is listening to them. The erotic poets who go down on a one-night stand. I live vicariously through you. The poets with 100 gods and the ones who believe you can find God in a Bazooka Joe comic strip. The gay poets and their straight parents who have no choice but to love them or eat shit. The poets who have 9-to-5 jobs, who don't want to do magic tricks and backflips, they just got something to say, so say it, baby. The captain saved poets. Don't touch their mentorship money, because that pays for the chapbooks and hobo traveling. The baby mother poets and their shot at finally being loved randomly. The slam poets who go for each other's caskets at finals but are each other's pallbearers. When it's all said and done, when the pen is finally finished with the page and the last poet is called on stage, we all we got. I'm a father. I had a father. He's still in my heart, but you know, I like to share stories about my parents and my relationship to the parents of my kids. So, Pops. Today I told my daughter Heaven, who did not have a great relationship with her teacher this year, sometimes, you know, your enemies in the streets become your best friend in jail. She looked at me like I was crazy. Never mind. Growing up, my homies would say to me after a rooftop cipher, "Yo, son, where you going?" "You know, I'm going to see Shakespeare in the Park." "What the fuck is that, yo?" "Man, just, you know, a bunch of fools rapping about their world, that's all." "Cool, yo, be careful." Letters from my white father. "Son, don't marry a Puerto Rican woman if you are not willing to die for her, because she will kill you anyway. But better to have loved than lost, even if it's your own life." Okay. Looking. Animal Kingdom. What do you tell a kid who's going to sit in a bread box for the rest of his life, where the whites in his eyes are colored with fire engine red? There is no sense in telling him to slow down. All you can do is pray for the prey that will be in his way. Dear Nelson Mandela, as an 80s baby from New York, I remember the day you were liberated from a South African prison and made your way to the States. You took a pit stop in Bed-Stuy during a time when this neighborhood was one of the most dangerous places in the world, but that was a sign, yet that your heart has always been on the front line. As you make your transition to meet your maker, I just want to put it out there that we recognize your presence and we owe you a statue at Boys and Girls High, dipped in bronze and mad love for showing up for us when no one would dare step foot on Fulton Street. No sleep till, as a child, when I saw Dorothy close her eyes and whisper loudly, "There is no place like home," I didn't understand that word, home, till I saw the Warriors make it back to Coney Island, and I knew what she was talking about. Just like to read, y'all. Like to read. Last one. A Vietnam veteran, gifted with poetry and story, drafted away to a war, left me a letter before he passed from AIDS to see his Lord. How ashamed he was to let his only son down. The war left him Cambodian scars and tablespoon epilepsy. Yet nothing compared to the weight of his heart when his child walked him through the doors at Calvary. I miss this man dearly. The Knicks games I owed him next to Spike Lee courtside. My wonderful white boy of a Pops wasn't around long enough to make me fall in love with the Mets, but I root for them, just for him, behind closed doors. Always wanted to ask, please tell me why out of all women he saw fire in my mother when she would have beat him with his own rib for staring at another lady crossing the Bruckner. These are the Riverview mirror envies I have sometimes, wishing for his blue eyes, how the cameras would wrap around the soul of them marbles deep in dialogue. But I have to settle for his paper heart, Millie, my mother's iron blood. The love I have for counting words in the lyrics of our songs comes from a Red Hook private who sits in the empty seat at the theater every now and then to watch his son fight for the E in Andersen. My Air Jordans, which is for Reggie Gaines. So let me do this poem. I want you to know that one of the things I try to enforce in the classroom as a writer is to know other writers' work. To not just show up with your own material and your own voice, but how you show up knowing other writers, like if you were a musician, because a musician can never walk through the door if they can't read music. A musician can't walk through the door if they don't know how to play somebody else's song. So why can't poets do that? So this is for Reggie Gaines, who taught me. My Air Jordans cost $100 with tax. My suede starter's jacket says Raiders on the back. I'm styling, smiling, looking real mean, because it ain't about being heard, just being seen. My leather Adidas baseball cap matches my fake Gucci backpack. Ain't nobody out there looks good as me, but this costs money, it sure ain't free. And I got no job, no money at all, but it's easy to steal all this from the mall. Parents say I shouldn't, but I knows I should. Got to do what I can to make sure I look good. And the reason I have to look real good, well, to tell you the truth, man, I don't know why. Guess it makes me feel special inside. When I'm wearing fresh gear, I don't have to hide. And I really must get some new gear soon, or my ego will pop like a 10-cent balloon. But security is tight at all the shops. Every day there are more and more cops. My crew is laughing at me because I'm wearing old gear. School's almost over, summer's near. And I'm sporting torn Jordans and need something new. Only one thing left to do. Cut school Friday, catch the subway downtown, check out my victims hanging around. Maybe I'll get lucky and find easy prey. Gotta get some new gear, there's no other way. I'm ready and willing, I'm packing my gun. This is serious business, this ain't no fun. And I can't have my posse laughing at me. I'm gonna cop something dope. Just wait, you'll see. I'm by the hoops, brother remarks. Yo, home, where you get them Nikes? I looked at them and I says, I likes them, I likes. They were Q-tip, white bright, and blinded my eyes. The red emblem of Michael looked as if it could fly. Not one spot of dirt, the airs were brand new, had my pistol, knew just what to do, waited until it was just the right time, followed him very closely behind. He made a left turn on house, and I pulled out my gun and I said, give me them Jordans. And the punk tried to run. Took off faster to get far, I fired, pow. Fool fell between two parked cars. He was coughing, crying, blood spilled on the street, and I snatched them Air Jordans off of his feet. While laying there dying, all he could say was, please, man, don't take my Air Jordans away. You'd think he'd be worried about staying alive. As I took off with his sneakers, there were tears in his eyes. Very next week, I bopped into school, my brand new Air Jordans, man, I was cool. I killed to get them, but hey, I don't care, because now I needs a new jacket to wear. Who? All right. So we're all adults here, so we're gonna go there. Great example of searching for character-driven narratives, which I love. I fell in love with it. I love Shakespeare as well, and playwrights, and eventually poets. I mean, before we were playwrights, we were poets, right? We weren't even called playwrights. So that transition was very easy for me as a writer, and I love to teach character-driven poetry to young people. And this is an example of when, when you feel like you really want to say something, let someone else say it for you. Just write it. Oh, you got to meet my girl Lily, like Millie. But Lily was so similar to Millie. Lily were always speaking similes, like I've been through a lot. Like I see these little girls running around acting like grown women, dressing like grown men. My mother would have beat my ass like mommy did if she called me acting like that. Like the time of my first love, this boy from the courtyard, like nobody wanted to let their daughters have anything to do with boys, let alone those that came out of that building, because it was like the neighborhood in New Jack City, but there was one boy I forget about it anyway. For like my 14th birthday, my mother got me a pair of these construction Timbs, and my father got me like a see-through beeper, so you know, like hip-hop, like you could look ugly, but clothes make you look like the shit. So like I go up to Margarita's, which is like the corner bodega, like when my cousins sent me to show off, I act like I was buying sunflower seeds and a Chico stick, and like we run into the 2, 3, 4 boys from the courtyard, so like my cousin Semi's sister was already like going out with Ray Rest in Peace, who was hugging the corner like a drug dealer with his homeboy they called Lemonhead. And he looked like a thugged out Campbell soup kid, so like next thing you know, like this little white boy Porter Rock runs up on me like a chain snatcher and pulls my beeper from my mud jeans, which always made my ass look like a Dominican before she has kids anyway. Like, he didn't want to give me my beeper until I gave him the digits, like my number's so naive. Instead of like giving them my number, I like giving my virginity. I mean, he had to like hold on to my head to like get it in, but we'll get to that anyway. My mother didn't like his reputation. She thought I would like catch AIDS for just kissing him, because like his mother had it, so I like had to break up with him. But then he became my boyfriend again, but like only over the phone for like a year. And he would tell me how like he had to live with his uncle, because like there was nowhere else for him to go. And like his mother didn't want him to do that. And like his uncle like taking his father and mother's death money and spending it on like coke all the time. So he had to get like a real job at this place called Goldman Sachs, being a messenger like down on Wall Street. Andy, whose gang started growing wild like stretch marks on my baby mama panty line, and like he was going crazy too with them. So one time I was like bored, and I wanted to feel like a gangster's girlfriend, so I told him this boy Blue Chip, who had a front tooth like a lapis lazuli in school, grabbed my ass like a manhandle, and he didn't do anything. I got so mad at him, because like no girl wants to be with the poser until the day he called Blue Chip. Hanging out with his girlfriend, holding hands, and they were wearing each other's sneakers. Like, who the fuck does that? Anyway, Andy came over and just knocked him out. I heard he like hit Blue Chip so hard he was laid on the floor still holding his girlfriend's hand. And he then stepped to me and was like, "Don't worry about when I do things, as long as I do them right." And I was like, "That's my man!" We became really serious when I started going to his high school like John Jay, and which was like a jungle. We would cut out our afternoon classes and sneak into his uncle's house. But now me and my friends have all, but now all my friends have had sex, and I was like the last one, so we would like experiment, like dry humping, chewing each other's gum while making out. Andy, he already had sex with some trick slut, I don't know her name, fucker. Anyway, he was my man. After all the pushing and pulling, I took my little brother's played out red and black lumberjack, and he pulled off his Philly Blunts white tee, and there we were, buck naked. He had a chest that looked like E.T.'s. I like cried after showing him my breast, because I had like cripple nipple, but then I was gassed to see how much he liked looking at my body, and before you know it, like we finally did it. His hands were soft like a dishwasher's. I don't ever think he took some girl before, and since I never lost mine, we really didn't know what we were doing. He put both of his hands on top of my head like he was climbing a rope. I gripped on her to his butt cheeks that had a birthmark that looked like the island of Cuba, and like it took him a whole video of TLC to finally get it in, but when it went in, it felt like a sweet burn. And then he started reggae dancing in me to make it look like he had skills. And I went along with it like I knew what I was doing too. Everything smelled beautiful and innocent like puppy water. We left that crib like a honeymoon stay at the Liberty Inn Standard to like the next day, like when my mother did the drive-by on him. Right, so, I don't know, sorry. I don't know why that became my last piece. It wasn't the best dismount, and we'll learn, but I guess internally, what I felt like, we're all going back to communities, and we're all going back to classrooms. And this is a young person in the classroom. This is that relationship. And when I was looking for the voice, this works so well when they see themselves speak. And there's great geography and great history and great story and pointers about the central character, which is who I am, versus the person telling the story. And it works so well in the classroom to allow students to be real and be creative about that reality. Self-expression versus creative control. Tell them to speak, but teach them how to control their speech. Teach them that a girl like this can speak in similes. And so I wanted to share that with you, because we all should share each other's curriculum. We should all like learn from each other. I've been very blessed by having great teachers and being from New York. I've been around some really important people who has great success, but I never held those secrets. Everyone's gonna learn. Everyone's gonna learn. I'm ready to teach anyone else, and that's how we grow. So just wanted to share that example. I'm so sorry. But hey, thank you very much for the work you do. This has been great. Carnegie Hall is amazing. Thank you so much.